Hello, this is Levi Wampler from MMAStrikingCoach.com. Today we're speaking with Coach Kearns of burnwithkearns.com. He's an MMA coach for several MMA fighters. How are you doing today, Coach Kearns?
Good, Levi. How are you?
Doing real good, real good. Could you let us know kind of how you got started in the fitness industry?
That's kind of an interesting question. I'm in the middle of writing my first book called Always Pick Last. I was the quintessential neighborhood punching bag, and our idea is a kind of an anti-bullying book. I had a life-changing event when I was 12. My father died of alcoholism at 48, and it basically made my world a living nightmare. You're talking the last guy to tie the shoes in this neighborhood, the last guy to take his training wheels off my bike. Matter of fact, I still think I have my training wheels on my bike. I think my kids are better at riding that than I am. Then what happened from there is a close uncle of mine that got a very big family, got 31 first cousins. They're not all married, intermarried, so don't think that or anything like that. It's not, it's not white trashville. And what ends up happening is an uncle talked me into taking karate, and I fell in love with karate, and from martial arts, I got involved in strength training because I started working out with some of the older guys there. And when I was 14 and 15, the guys that used to look like Big Jim and G.I. Joe, who taught me how to lift weights, and I basically turned a hobby into a lifestyle, into a career. I'm a big fan of one of my chapters in my book is called "Life Doesn't Come with Directions, but So You Think," because it does. And I literally fell into this in 1987. Went to UMass Boston. I was actually doing computer programming at a junior college. Couldn't stand it. I was flunking out and fell into exercise physiology. My first professor, Dr. David Thomas, was exercise physiology 101. First day in the first class, and I was actually going into the nursing program at UMass Boston. First lecture, I was convinced. I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is all I want to do. And I can still read the chapters and hear his lectures. And the chapters from the book, I think it was the Cradle, Catch, and Catch, Exercise Physiology 101. I think I must have read every page of the book 6 times. And I can't get enough of it. This is fun for me.
Great, that's great. How did you get started working with MMA fighters?
The way I got started working with MMA fighters, it's all timing. I was in the right place at the right time. I've been in and out of martial arts probably for 30-something years. My good friend, Coach Steve Whittier of Texas Martial Arts, he was a purple belt at the time under Roberto Maya. He had been doing some classes in another gym, and I got involved with him. And he was talking to, working with Mark Delagrati. This was back in 2004, 2005. And Kenny Florian had just gone on the first show, and a lot of local guys on the first show, Calorexis. And Kenny had made it to the finals. I started working with Mark, and I walked in the gym at Tijiton, Mark Delagrati's gym, and I see a medicine ball, a stability ball, really nobody knows how to use it. And I got involved in functional training back in probably 98, functional strength training, floor training. And this was 2004. And the only way they knew how to use a medicine ball back then was basically doing sit-ups with it. I said, okay, we can do a lot more with a medicine ball than that. I started working with some of the local fighters, some of the amateur fighters. Mark got wind of it. Everybody kept telling Kenny about me. One thing led to another, and Kenny's business manager was working with him. Says, you really ought to check out Kevin. And then Kenny hurt his back 3 weeks before the Sean Shirk fight. That was that was November 2006. He was working with somebody else, and what ended up happening is the guy didn't know a lot about the sweat build techniques I know. He hurt his back 2 weeks before the fight, and Ron, Kenny's business manager, called me and goes, can you work with Kenny? I said, sure. So basically, I did my best to keep him stretched before the fight. I flew out of my own nickel. Kenny fought a great fight against Sean Shirk. And then at Lynn, and I basically got the job. He said, I got to make some changes, came back and basically hired me. And we started working that literally about a month later that December. And I went on for about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years with him with 6 wins. And then all the other fighters wanted to know, who you work with. I turned a guy that didn't look like a fighter in 2004, 2005 to looking into like a fighter in 2007.
Wow. Great. Could you tell us what you think some of the biggest mistakes you see fighters making when they're doing their fitness training for MMA?
Overtraining. It stinks like a skunk.
Yep.
In our certification program, it's a great question, Levi.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see it happening all the time. You know, they are banged up, they're not sleeping enough, their nutrition's off. You know, there's a lot of factors, and generally they end up overtraining. They're not listening to their bodies, they're not listening to their coach. I think that one of the biggest errors is overtraining. The second biggest error is trust. If they're not trusting the coaches, that's a bad problem. When once trust breaks down with the coach and an athlete, it all falls apart. I think the other big scenario, a couple other ones, nutrition. And then, obviously nutrition is one of the things. If they don't have their nutrition in line, they're not gonna perform well. And then it's also up to them to let the coaches. It's almost like, you know, what happened in 9/11. The agencies didn't talk to each other, right? It's almost the same thing as you have to fight. You get the striking coach, you get the BJJ coach, you get the wrestling coach, you get the strength coach, the nutrition coach. They all need to talk together about what's going on with the fight. Because it really is, even though it's about one athlete, it's a multiple people have to make this athlete healthy enough to be able to perform for those 15 minutes to half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, you know, that would definitely be some of the classic mistakes that I've seen. I've also seen the other classic mistakes I've seen is, you know, getting most of their knowledge of their workouts. They're trying to train like a bodybuilder, which doesn't make sense.
Now, considering how important fitness and nutrition and everything is to a fighter's training regimen, what would you recommend for new coaches to help them learn to properly train their fighters?
Well, you know, it's a great question, Levi. I'm biased, so I would definitely say we have a certification system that we're promoting and implementing around the world. I just came back from Ireland last week. We had 20 people, and I'm going back in probably May, possibly May or April. Fighters only, train hard, fight easy. My right for is going to sponsor me. Most who's going to sponsor me pretty much across the country because it's really needed. And I think that, you know, get as much knowledge as possible. You know, people like Juan Carlos Santana, who go to mentor, he's right in the field, Douglas Brooks. You know, get as much knowledge as possible, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Get in there and digest everything. You know, literally digest everything. I mean, we've got 6 to 7 DVDs in the market that we use for MMA, and the formula works.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell us a little bit about how your coaching program, your certification program works?
Sure. You know, people say, well, do they know your certification program, Kevin? You know, do they need any background? So I owned the gym for 10 years. I've seen trainers walk in the gym with a master's degree and didn't know the right side of a dumbbell. And I've seen trainers fully certified, you know, that are better dealing with people. So it really doesn't matter. You know, it's more of a passion. You have a passion, you know. I've got a tattoo on my right arm that I did over the summer. It says vision, passion, and perseverance. Do you have the vision, passion, and perseverance in this field? I put it on to remind me every day that that's what I need. And if they have that passion to really want to teach people, then you know what? I want you on board. Whether you're a martial art instructor, whether you have no certification, it doesn't matter. I've got a kid now that's 21, Ed Ryan White. He made it all the way to the finals in the Golden Glove in Massachusetts. He's 21 years old. He's a great trainer. He's a fantastic trainer, and he's got the passion for it. Not a lot of school. You know, he graduated high school, did a couple years in college, but you know what? There's a guy that is a diamond in the rough. And, you know, he's got other people. I'm not saying education's bad. Education's great if you can do it. But, yeah, you know, we usually look for those diamonds in the rough that can carry the brand forward and say, you know what, Coach, Coach Kearns, I represent your brand. You know, we're going to do right by you. And at least I know if I send somebody to some of my certified guys in Ireland, they're following the system. You know, they're honoring the system of what we taught and implemented. And I always tell them, too, I said, you know what? I'm giving you some tools. Different tools for your toolbox, for your trainer. You know what? Do what Bruce Lee did. It's so much useful for all the rest. Smash it, reformulate it, think outside the box. I think that's what this is all about.
That sounds great. It does. Could you tell us what some of your favorite training materials, resources, workout equipment might be?
You mean products or in general?
Just whatever you think is important for, like you say, a toolkit. What should fighters have? What books should they read? DVDs? What piece of workout equipment should they go to? Any recommendations?
Obviously, if they want DVDs, I'm going to recommend mine. I think, Martin Rooney, I think J.C. Santana, I think Rocky Ferguson all have great stuff to offer. Douglas Brooks, they all have really, really good, solid stuff to offer. I said, as far as equipment-wise, bands, medicine balls, the body blade. I'm a big fan of, I have 4 kind of foundations. I tell everybody a certification, line doesn't matter. I don't know everything. I'm not going to claim to know everything. You're never going to do a protocol I haven't done on myself. I usually say on myself a pronoun, but that's just a big joke. No, it's actually true. Just kidding. And then we don't endorse any product unless we personally believe in it. So I would say we're big fans of agility ladders, body blades, sledgehammers. I think you've probably seen some of my clips on using the 4-pound sledgehammers that are $20. I'm an off-the-shelf guy. You'll find a YouTube clip of me using a Poland spring, 5-gallon Poland spring jug and filled as a kettlebell. So that's like, why not? So they bet me I couldn't do a Turkish get-up of it. I'm like, okay, let's just, it's like, why not be a 40 factor there? The GRX is great. The other suspension training, like airfare, all that stuff is fantastic. And the thick bands from Jump Stretch, those are all good tools. The rest of the stuff in the gym, get off the bench pressing and get on a stability ball and do your pressing. Get on one leg. That's the sport. The sport is unbalanced. The sport is organized combat chaos. That's the sport.
That's great. That's really good advice. Going along that advice line, could you give us some of the advice that your mentors have given you along the way?
Think outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably J.C. Douglas Brooks. Douglas Brooks was famous for, have personal integrity. If the trainer doesn't have personal integrity, you're lost. You're just lost. I would say definitely, my old friend and chiropractor Brian Leahy. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you're the best at it, but try to be the best at it. That's probably another good piece of advice.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of, Dr. Wayne Dyer. So, hold your vision, keep your passion no matter what anybody tells you. Anybody. And I think fighters and trainers, we've got a population that keeps getting obese. My goal of my company is to help end obesity one person at a time using the MMA conditioning principles. That's what we want to do. I said, my professor once said, your job, this has stuck with me for over 22 years, your job makes people feel good about exercise. And I've taken that to heart. And that's our job. And to me, with MMA conditioning, you can make it as fun and interesting as anything else. Who wants to be on a gerbil mill watching the news going, oh, look, the economy's going down. Oh, look, somebody shot somebody. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome, though. Thanks for that. So this has been Levi Wampler with MMAStrikingCoach.com, speaking with Kevin Kearns of BurnWithKearns.com. Thank you very much for talking to us today.
Thank you for your time, Levi. I look forward to seeing you again. Or speaking to you again.